Srimati Arundhati Bhattacharya, Chairperson, Board of IIM Sambalpur, Professor Mahadeva Jaiswal, Director IIM Sambalpur, members of the board, faculty members of the IIM Sambalpur, officers and staff of the IIM, distinguished guests, media friends, proud parents, and my dear students. I am delighted to be here with all of you at the 9th annual convocation of the Indian Institute of Management, Sambalpur, and to greet all the graduate students of MBA, Executive MBA, MBA for the working professionals, PhD awardees, and of course, the proud parents of all of you. It is heartening to note that the institute, which started in the year 2015, during a decade of its existence, starting with 45 students, now the number is probably 10 times, 15 times more. It is a very significant achievement. The campus is built with state-of-the-art infrastructure, and the Prime Minister had laid the foundation of the foundation stone in 2011, and he also inaugurated the institute in the year 2024. So it is also a very commendable achievement that the building could be completed within a limited time in spite of the COVID-19. IIM Sambalpur has, during a decade of its existence, earned a reputation of integrating various types of activities. It has the core value of innovation, integrity, and inclusiveness. The institute has also, as the director mentioned, introduced AI in its education, which is also a very important initiative, and it is consistent with the concept of centers of excellence in AI in various parts of the country. I compliment the IIM Sambalpur for launching the entrepreneurship program for the master weavers of the Western Odisha. This initiative provides a vital support for business growth and brand building and weavers of this area. This is a very important contribution of the IIM for these people of this area. When the director was mentioning about my academic achievements, UK and so on, and of course Delhi School of Economics, but I would like to say that I studied here only in Sambalpur, in the GM college. So the foundation actually laid here. So it is very important for you to know that even if you are at a small place, though of course the IIM is not small, the infrastructure is not small. I think this is the best of infrastructure and very comfortable living, which many of us, and as many other distinguished speakers also told, most of us didn't have that privilege, but it can take you further in future of your life. Furthermore, IIM Sambalpur it not only has world-class infrastructure, it is also situated in a part of this country which is nestled with history and heritage. The presiding goddess of the area, Ma Samleshwari, is not very far from here. This is also the land of Veer Surendra Sai, who had fought against the colonial rule much before the 87 War of Independence. People of this area had organized In the beginning of the 20th century, a mass movement for the preservation of Odia language and also for the formation of separate state of Odisha based on language. So it is a place which has its history, its heritage, its culture. You are fortunate to have studied at this institute, located in an area with glorious history, heritage, and endowed with natural beauty. The Hirakud Dam, located nearby, in turn represents the building of modern India. In fact, this area has also a lot of potential, and a development plan is being prepared by the government of Odisha, and which will include not only tourism but education and multi-level activities in this area, which include Hirakud Dam, nearby areas which have a lot of tourism potentials, and of course the educational institutions in this area. So in fact, we are going to have a discussion this afternoon on the development of this area, its potential, and how to utilize it to build tourism and other activities. My dear students, I congratulate each and every one of you. This is an important milestone in your life which you must cherish and celebrate. At the same time, however, you must look to the future, to accomplishment of many more milestones, building further on the foundational stone which you have built today. Also remember, what you have achieved today is an outcome of not just your own efforts, but also the contributions of your parents, teachers, and many others around you. Your knowledge, you should acknowledge their contributions. Always remember that no person is successful just by himself or herself. Today I wish to speak to you on the theme that directly impacts your future, opportunities and challenges in the current geopolitical and economic context. All of you know that the post-COVID world is different from what it was before. Much has changed since then. There are uncertainties all around today. They are much more than earlier time. The impact of COVID-19, which was unprecedented disaster engulfing the entire world. When a disaster takes place, it affects a part of a country, a part of a region like earthquake and cyclone and so on. But the COVID-19 was possibly unprecedented in the sense, at least for a century, that it affected the entire world at the same time. There are still countries which still have the impact of this COVID-19. Geopolitical situation has become very complex and creates tremendous stress on the economy and polity. The perspective on globalization seems to be changing as never before. The most recent development consequent upon the reciprocal tariffs by the United States of America have far-reaching consequences for the global economic and geopolitical landscape. We are living in an interesting and challenging time. The global economy is at a critical juncture, facing an array of complex challenges. Disruptions in global supply chains, protectionist policies, heightened geopolitical tension, changing global trade patterns, etc., are adding to the complexity. It is in this context that you have to chart your future and see how much it is challenging or how it provides also you some opportunities. We are grappling with tectonic shift in geopolitical alignment while also witnessing technological breakthroughs at a pace never seen before. Supply chains are being reimagined, trade relationships are being redefined, climate and sustainability are central to the conversation. Amid this churning, one thing is clear: the future will not just be inherited, it will be created. You need to create your own future. It is in this situation that India has to chart its development journey. It is in this situation that you have to see how you can shape the future. Professor Jaiswal said there are 60% women students here, 40% men. Of course, he mentioned also we would like to see how we can increase the number of boys. But I don't think it is necessary, because everywhere else we talk about women reservation, whether in the legislature, whether elsewhere. So if there are more women students than men, I think it is a good thing, and they have all come by merit, not by any reservation. So I think we should encourage more and more, and also world over, as Mr. Garg also will say, because women participation is extremely important, and lot of studies, economists and ILO, all of them talk about women participation. It is still much lower in India than many other countries. So I think we must encourage them to come more and more. And doesn't matter if they are 80% also, because they will. We are in Amrit Kal. Our Prime Minister had laid down a grand vision for India in 1947. Far-reaching changes will be taking place for India and the world in the coming decades. Some of the numbers were mentioned by Mr. Garg, how he said how it will become 30 trillion economy, and how we have to build something which has never been built during the last so many centuries and decades. Prime Minister wants all of us to take the country to the next level through the process of reform, perform, and transform. In this endeavor, all of you will be playing a very, very critical role in ensuring that India becomes a developed country by 2047. So next 20, 30 years, when you work, that will be the most crucial period, not only for you, but also for the country. Today, India is having a good standing globally, and it is shaping both by internal transformation as well as shifting global dynamics. Internally, on the one hand, growing economy, young population, expanding infrastructure, and technological advance form our strength. Globally, India's geopolitical influence, strategic partnership, diaspora communities, soft power in terms of global influence, etc., highlight our country's growing influence. India has several strengths. I would give a few examples. Some of these were mentioned by earlier speakers. India has become a global innovation powerhouse with over 100 unicorns. We are the third startup ecosystem in the world. In fact, yesterday when I was in the flight from Delhi, next to me was a young man sitting next to me. He appeared somewhat familiar. Then he introduced himself. He was studying in the engineering college, Veer Surendra Sai Engineering College, Bulla there. He said he and some of his friends, about 7 of them, had met me in 2017 when I had visited. I was at MCL. They had come and they met. That time I was surprised. They said they are working on building rockets. So it was those days not very easy to understand that They are building rockets, Bulla Engineering College. They say they are building some small one. They wanted some help, that if they can get some help from the ISRO space. So when I went back, I told the Secretary Space, and they very sincerely interacted with them and gave some help, some project and so on. So what he said, that much has changed last 7 years in all of their lives. He said he would have, through campus placement, he would have joined Infosys or some such IT company. But because of that meeting with me, and also the help from the ISRO, he has his own, now he has set up a factory manufacturing drones. So he belongs to Bulla only. Then he said he has now employed 700 people, out of them 300 are professionals. So instead of becoming a employee, he has created so much of employment. So he had a small startup, and it is still in the status of a startup. So I have been hearing a lot about the startup and Government of India policy and many things we are doing. But personally, I did not know actually how a startup works, how a person who has a startup, how I asked him a very probably a silly question, because 700 people manufacturing this, and he said, I said, how much bank loan you get? He said, we are still a startup, we don't get bank loan. He said, but as there, some venture capital, and he explained how he started, what he did. And I also asked him some question, how do you manage so many people? So it was a very exciting thing to know that one person, and of course he said all other friends, all the 7 of them were there at that time, they have all startups, somebody in education, somebody in some other area, somebody Bangalore and all that. But unfortunately, none of them have started in Odisha any startup. Of course, he said in Gujarat and other areas more response from the, but so I think some of you can encourage here startups, and some of you can have also. I told the Chief Secretary and others yesterday also, because when we were waiting for a long time at Bhubaneswar airport, that they should see how their policy can change, So that's a very big area. Our production-linked incentive schemes across sectors such as electronics, pharma, and solar are driving manufacturing resurgence. For you, this opens up exciting roles in operation, logistics, supply chain strategy, and manufacturing excellence. With over 800 million internet users, India's digital economy is booming. As you heard today, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and Industry 4.0 are no longer buzzwords, they are reality. Digital India has connected hundreds of millions in platforms such as the UPI, the payment platform, processed over 185 billion transactions in 2024-25. Our digital infrastructure is admired globally and serves as the backbone of our inclusive economic model. Next one is India's climate commitments are bold. We aim to install 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel by 2030. We have launched the National Green Hydrogen Mission. We are also co-founder of the International Solar Alliance and Global Biofuel Alliance. Clean tech, green finance, electronics, vehicles, carbon trading, and circular economy practices will all demand trained, innovative minds. And that is where your skill sets will come in. There are huge opportunities. Our IT exports have surpassed 200 billion. As you know, only 5-6 years ago, most of the mobile phones we were importing. Today, we have huge export of mobile phone, and most of our mobile phones are now made in India. Our pharma remains the lifeline of the world. With increasing confidence in Made in India, global markets are more accessible than ever before. You could lead business that export to the world and manage global supply network from the Indian soil. India needs to create 8 to 10 million jobs annually. Jobs, I mean quality jobs, to absorb its youth. The challenge is not just job creation, but ensuring alignment between skills and industry needs. That is what is very important. We should develop skills which are needed by the industry. That, of course, needs lot of interface between industry and educational institutions. We need to reform education, expand vocational training, and incentivize entrepreneurship. The government's Digital India and Skill India programs need champions in the private sector who can help impart digital skills to the underprivileged and mentor small business. After mentioning all these, the potentials which are there, opportunities which are there, and with your training here, you have huge opportunities. But to succeed, you need certain qualities. It is not merely technical skill. Technical skill is necessary for your success, but not sufficient. One's attitude and approach becomes important for coordinated and collective efforts. Interactions with stakeholders, colleagues, people, and even political functionaries are critical to our working together so as to achieve the national goal. Teamwork is probably more important than individual brilliance. Your effectiveness will depend on how you take your team together to achieve the overall objective of the organization. In fact, yesterday I was asking the same boy who had met me 7 years ago. When he said he had 700 people working, there are, of course, 2-3 of their partners, they call, or foundation, the founders they call, and 300 engineers. I asked him, what is your main challenge? He said his challenge is how to keep the team together. There are sometimes differences. So teamwork is extremely important. Even he explained from his experience how the attitude which is important, how you interact with the people. He also even gave very interesting example. He said that because they have in-house design also. That's what he said. Design the drones, and he has people who are very qualified. Some of them are older than him. He said, when I discuss with him, I don't disagree with them openly. So these are some of the things we must learn, even if we are in the private sector, have our own enterprises. And in order to lead a team and coordinate their performance, openness of mind, mutual respect, and humility are essential. Needless to say that the values of ethics and principles of transparency and objectivity are also extremely important. Even if you are in the private sector, the principle of ethics and transparency are very, very important. That is, as you must have seen, some of our companies who have done otherwise very well, their ethical standards are not as good, whereas some other countries, of course, nowhere it is perfect. The standards, the norms they are following. The other thing I would like to mention before I conclude is that you are graduating from a relatively new institution. Very often people coming from old, established and renowned institutions are valued not only because of their own merit, but because of the brand of the institution. The example was given coming from MIT or Harvard, or here, say, some other old management institutions. Apart from their value, because there is something in economics called the screening mechanism. When somebody has come from an institution which is well known, the recruiter or he will give him more weight than somebody from a new or unknown. So that is a fact of life. On the other hand, individuals who excel in various fields help build the brand of the institution where they come from. I am sure because when you go somewhere else, you do so well, and there are many others from IIM Sambalpur doing very well, then over time the brand of this institution will develop. So when the institution has given you something, has given you the skill, has given you the courage to face the world, I think you should also excel for your own benefit. At the same time, you build the brand of the institution where you come from. Also keeping in mind that you are entering the world which is ever challenging and more uncertain. What you learn today will become obsolete tomorrow, and what you do today, somebody else in some other part of the world will do better tomorrow. You must keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the frontiers of knowledge. Finally, I encourage you to be courageous and resilient in adversity. Life will undoubtedly present you with obstacles and setbacks, but you will overcome them through perseverance and determination. Embrace failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. Have courage to dream big and have faith and confidence in your abilities. Just before the convocation, when the group photograph was there, that time I was seeing, I think some of you said you have been there. When I asked it 10 minutes, they say much longer, and it was certainly very uncomfortable, much more uncomfortable than what it is here. So like that, it is a discomfort, but there will be obstacles. Some examples were also given. So you must be bold and courageous. Dear graduates, your responsibilities begin today. Use your management acumen to drive growth, productivity, and innovation. Embrace lifelong learning. Take entrepreneurial route, solve problems, create jobs, and build for Bharat. Think globally, act locally. Integrate Indian capabilities with global aspirations. So these are some of the points I would like to summarize. I have said, because very often it is said that when you talk to people publicly or like here, in the beginning you say what you are going to say. I said I am going to talk about the challenges and opportunities. And after you have said, you should also say what you have said, because very often I might not have been able to explain. So I am trying to say what I have said, that use your management acumen to drive growth, productivity, and innovation. Embrace lifelong learning. Take entrepreneurial route. Solve problems, create jobs. Think globally but act locally. Look at the local condition but at a global perspective. Integrate Indian capabilities with global aspirations. Uphold values. Let your work be ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. The dream of a 5 trillion economy next 2 to 3 years, or 30 trillion economy as it was mentioned, is not just GDP figure. It is about millions lifted from poverty, world-class infrastructure, energy security, and digital empowerment. Each one of you is a building block in this vision. So look at the vision. It is not merely the size of the economy, it is how people come out of poverty. Finally I see in front of me future CEOs, policymakers, innovators, and thought leaders among all of you. The decision you make in the boardroom, startups, or civil services of tomorrow will ripple across the economy and society. Have confidence that you can drive positive change. As you step into the world, carry forward the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. We need leaders who think beyond profits and positions. We need managers who manage not only business but also values, diversity, and change. I once again congratulate all of you, your parents. I also compliment Professor Mahadev Jaiswal, Director IIM, and his great team for their endeavor so far, and I wish them all the best. I also thank Srimati Arundhati Bhattacharya and all the board members for the excellent work they have been doing during the last 1 decade and brought the IIM IIM Sambalpur to this level, which is a very high profile in the country and globally also. I thank you again. All the best. Thank you.